I met Gary Panter in 1978. I did a little zine called Life in Hell. And Gary Panter saw it, wrote me a fan letter, and I was frightened because Gary's handwriting is kind of scratchy and scrawly, and his Y's look like S's. And so I thought, I didn't see that it was Gary. I thought it was Gars Panter. And his comic strip, Jimbo, in the local punk zine Slash, had Japanese writing in it. And somehow in my idea, I put it all together and I thought, he's a crazed Japanese punk. Gary does all these paintings which can be kind of aggressive. You know, there's kind of like the dark side of pop culture and very psychedelic and odd. And yet he himself is the nicest, sweetest guy I've ever met.
So we became great friends. We used to share burgers at Astro Burger.
We used to scrape coins out of the carpets of our crummy little apartments and split burgers and then scheme about how to invade pop culture.
Matt was stealing milk crates, you know, those plastic milk crates, and that's what all of his records and books were in. And so he stole them like for years and years and years. And when he became finally famous and rich, he took 200 of them back one night and put them behind Astro Burger.
That he's a genius, that he's, I think, the most important graphic artist of his generation. And that's my generation. That's my opinion.
Invading pop culture, which was our goal, turned out pretty well because Gary went on to do covers for Time Magazine and album covers for Frank Zappa, and then of course Pee-wee's Playhouse. Unbelievable. He brought that psychedelic, crazed Gary Panter style to Saturday Morning and completely warped an entire generation of kids. And then I did this other thing too, The Simpsons. But you know, but Gary went first, and he was my role model.
When I first moved here, it was '76, and by '77, punk rock had started. Then I went to this Slash party, and all these kids were like jumping up and down and singing along with God Save the Queen and stuff, and I was like, what is this?
Probably our first gig where we crashed a comic book convention and used the other band's instruments and played 2 lines of Iron Man over and over again until they kicked us out.
There is a slight amount of influence with Gary and me. He influenced me. He did Jimbo, and if you recall, looking at Jimbo, he's got this kind of a jagged hairline at the top of his head. That's where Bart Simpson's hairline came from. And so, yeah, so yes, there was a little bit of an influence.
Art changes people's consciousness, and changing people's consciousness changes the world.
I'm not sure art is important. To me, art is a great distraction from our finite existence, and it's a way that humans can make a little bit of beauty and add to the world, or not. Sometimes art is not necessarily beautiful. I like beautiful art, and I think Gary's art is beautiful.